This episode of Now This Is Lit is brought to you by Audible. Check the link in the description to get your first Star Wars audiobook free. Everyone loves free things. Click that link. Do it. This show is also brought to you by our patrons. If you want to support the show in a different way, with just $1 a month, you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/StarWarsLitPod. You can get a sticker. You can get access to an exclusive show that we do every month that's wild and chaotic and fun and something you can only get by becoming a member of the Patreon. There'll be so many more perks very, very soon. But for now, do you want a sticker? Do you want a sticker that has a Now This Is Lit logo? Because it's fantastic and I love them. But I also want to give them away because there's just a stack of stickers on my desk. So if you want one, $1 a month. Patreon.com/StarWarsLitPod. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. You're listening to Now This Is Lit, a podcast about Star Wars books, the people who make them, and the readers who just can't get enough of them. I'm your host, Meg Dowell. I use she, her pronouns. Chelsea from Space Wizards Book Club is back on the show for the third time, fourth time. I've lost count. I love having her on the show. That's why I keep inviting her back. We have a lot in common, and as I discovered in this conversation that you are about to hear, our paths to getting where we are now, which is for both of us writing for Star Wars Insider and just writing about Star Wars a lot, are very similar. Also, this episode does start out with a lengthy but I think worthwhile discussion about AI and how creators feel about people using it to do things that we often do ourselves. And that is, of course, the result of what might happen when you press the AI button on Zoom instead of record on accident. No regrets, though. I hope you enjoy all the things we talk about on this week's episode.
There we go. That sounds normal.
All right, that is what we wanted, not AI bullshit anyway.
Yes.
It's like everywhere I turn, I'm like, can I not just like opt out of all of this?
Yeah, I would like to be excluded from AI, please.
I hate it. But I mean, the nice thing about like writing for Star Wars is that we don't have to deal with that. Isn't that great?
That is really great.
Oh. Oh.
And so, you know, the IP franchises of the world seem to be very pro-human creation right now. And I hope that continues. Yes, yeah. Because, you know, the great works of the world, whether that is movies or literature, you know, it wasn't made by, you know, a non-human entity stealing human work. So, yeah. I don't think ChatGPT is going to win any like Pulitzer Prizes anytime soon.
I mean, that's the hope. I mean, I guess you never know.
Yeah. That would be the day where I'm like, you know what? I'm done. Okay.
It's like the thing like about a lot of the work that I do is like I may not have to like interact with AI like itself, but I am reading and editing a lot of things that have been produced using that technology. And like the more that I read it, the more I'm like, first of all, you can tell.
Oh, for sure.
Second of all, there's no soul. It just, there's nothing there. There's no substance. It's so boring.
It's like word salad, you know, like just buzzword salad. So
it really sometimes reads to me like something written by a human who's never written before and is just trying to write like a writer.
Yeah.
And it's very, I mean, but it's worse than that, but still.
Yeah. because like you want to, I feel like reading, as someone who works with students, I have adult students, but um, I, you know, I try to be encouraging and give constructive feedback um, with their stories, with their writing, and so you never want to be like, this reads like it was written by AI, because I
Yeah.
feel like that has become almost like an insult.
Right.
Um, but I can I tell them that, you know, there may be times where I can't tell that you used AI to write this, but with my assignments, like AI can't do everything for you.
Yeah.
Um, my assignments are, you have to go talk to people
Hmm.
and interview them, and then you have to take their quotes and put it in a story. So even if use ChatGPT to help you, I don't know, understand like the history of a topic or something, like ChatGPT is not going to go out and interview people.
Yeah.
So, and in my experience, it's probably not. I know there's a lot of discourse and, kind of buzzy news articles out there about how like college students are basically using AI for like everything and they're not, whatever. But in my experience, I teach journalism, teach writing, to students, storytelling. A lot of my students are very anti-AI,
Hmm.
and um, they get very upset when they hear about any other professor who like uses AI, because, rightfully so, in their minds, they're paying a lot of money
Yeah.
to go to college.
Yeah.
Um, and they're like, why should I care about the work that I do when my professor is, you know, taking the easy route?
Yeah.
Um, and I'm like, yeah, I hear you. And I'm like, I give them a promise. I'm like, I don't use AI in my curriculum because, one, I don't need it. And I don't know if that sounds like a flex or not. I don't know, but
I mean,
I
like,
don't
yeah,
need
but
it.
like, own it.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't need it. I've come this far. I'm not going to use it. And you know what? If me choosing to not use AI leaves me behind, that's fine. Just leave me behind. I'll I'll enjoy my time back here.
Yeah, I mean, like there have been some like things that I've worked on over the last year where I'm like, this task would be so much easier to accomplish if I just used AI and I understand the appeal of like, oh, like it
Yeah,
could do it and I wouldn't have to. But I'm like, then I have to like also be like, that mean like I'm not gonna do the work unless I
yeah,
want to do it. So if I use AI, that means I don't want to do the work, so why am I doing it anyway?
yeah. That's a no, 100% fair point. And you know, you don't you don't want to feel like a cog in the machine.
Mhm.
So, yeah, it's funny that you bring up AI, because I was just talking to my therapist about this today. About how just continually disappointing it is to be a creative in
Yeah.
this world, to be you know a, a writer and someone who just wants to create stuff, whether that is writing or, I'm not an artist by any means, but like I don't want to see AI art because it looks bad. So
Yeah.
like, objectively is bad, you
Yeah.
know. So it's not like a matter of opinion. Like, no, it's ugly. So yeah,
Well, like, I feel the same way as a creative. When I write stuff, like I hate to think that like AI is just scraping that and using it, and there's nothing I can do about it, but that's a whole
Oh
other
yeah.
thing. But a lot of what I do, especially on this show, is I interview authors. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the things I love to do is talk to them about like, like what was your process? Why did you write what you wrote? Like making this whole story that they constructed personal to the
Yeah.
reader, to them. And like, because that's what makes a story to me is that someone sat down and they gave themselves fully over to it and wrote this thing. And there are parts of themselves in that story, whether you know it or not, because they wrote it. And that is so important to me. And to like think about how like that doesn't exist if AI is just writing everything. I just like that is so that's bad to me. I don't like that.
Yeah, I don't like that either. It makes me think of, what was the last Star Wars book that came out, The Bad Batch,
Mm.
Sanctuary. And I'm pretty sure in my review I wrote, however I feel about this story, however somebody else feels about this story, like it is so obvious that um author Lamar Giles, it's Giles, right? Giles.
I really don't
I hope
know.
I hope I'm saying it right. Anyway, it's so obvious that the author had a fantastic time writing this,
Yes.
and that this was just such a fun thing for him to do, such a privilege, an honor to do this. And especially with Star Wars books, I love reading the acknowledgments, you know,
Hmm.
right after I finish the book, because it does kind of help me, you know, um, with my review, and kind of getting a little bit of like the writer's like headspace and like
Yeah.
thought process of like what this book means to them in the story, and like getting that context is can like completely change the way I look at a book.
Yeah.
Um, and it didn't necessarily change my mind about Sanctuary. One, I went into it with like, okay, new Star Wars book, I'm here for it.
Mhm.
Kind of like I love the Bad Batch, but I'm like, okay, like what else do we need to say about the Bad Batch? It's
Mhm.
set during this time period. Okay, well, I'm here for the characters. But then I'm like, reading the acknowledgments, finish the story, and I'm like, I I am so happy for Lamar Giles.
Yeah.
Like that he got to write a Star Wars book, because at the end of the day, this like this made him so happy. And that
Yeah.
that comes through on the page. And I can get on board with any book that is showcases just the author's love for characters and the story and the world they created. And I love that.
Yeah. Like there are no books without authors. I mean, like, traditionally, I guess.
Right.
So, uh, what are we doing? It's 2025. I don't know.
Fun times.
I
The
don't
life
know.
of being a writer in 2025.
No. It's so good and yet so not.
Yeah.
Um, so you're back. I feel like I've lost count. This may be your fourth time here. I really don't know. It doesn't matter. It's just
I
fun to
I
think about.
am I'm a seasoned alum of this podcast.
I'm pretty sure, like, other
So
than my producer, you're the one who's been here the most.
I love that. Always happy to pop in. I feel like
Really,
we have such a good
anytime.
time. Yeah.
Anytime, when we're not both very busy with very a lot of things.
Yeah, a lot of
A
things.
lot of things.
I love that, you know, I have this, made connections with people that I've literally never met in real life.
Hmm.
Like I chat with you, um, and then, I chat with other people,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, I can't believe that I've talked to this person so many times and I've never like met them in person. They live There's some people that I connected with on the internet that they live like across the world.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I like this person because they're really cool and we're completely different people. And
Yeah. There really needs to be some kind of like Star Wars like creator social media something meetup at some kind of convention at some point.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, I think that there's some like, you know, brief, vague discussions about trying to have like a fun Star Wars book community meetup celebration
I love that.
in 2027. And like that will be the time to do it.
Yeah,
I am determined to be at celebration in 2027
same.
because of many things, but I need to be there.
Yeah.
So,
It's one of those things that seems so far away, but it's really not.
no, and like, we're at the tail end of 2025 and then
God.
2026 will be here before you know it. What I mean, honestly, once we get to October, like Halloween, I mean, the year is basically over. It it's
Yeah.
it just flies by.
For me, it's always like the fact that we have to do any work after Thanksgiving is like cruel. Like I
Yeah,
don't want to be
that's
there.
mm-mm. No, it's criminal. You should not have to do any work after Thanksgiving. It
But
should be like, very chill, casual. December should be a, you know, work if you want to, but deadlines are flexible. Just need to just vibe.
yeah, like don't like if you email me, not getting back to you until January, like everyone
Yeah,
just calm down.
yeah. Only people on like the emergency contact list. Like everything else is do not disturb, but
Oh God, I wish. Capitalism.
gotta love it.
That's like it comes up in therapy so often. Like I'll like be like complaining about
Capitalism.
something and my therapist is just like it's capitalism. I'm just
Like, I
like,
know. What can we do about it? Not much.
no, that's always the answer is survive
Yeah, yeah,
somehow.
survive. That's what it really, there's definitely weeks, months where I'm like, I'm just surviving, trying to make the best of crappy situation
Mhm.
and, making it out alive and then being like, all right, like let's regroup and, you know, maybe next time will be better. And yeah, but I will say the writing part of life seems to be going pretty well. I feel like I'm busy. I have things to do,
Yep.
but I don't know about you, but I am always looking for more work even though I shouldn't.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I finished working on some stuff today and I was running and I was like, what if I started a coaching business? And then I just like I had to stop and be like, you need to not right now.
No,
Like you need to shut it down.
like coach yourself out of that. Just coach yourself. You don't need to coach other people.
Like you are already like I did not stop today. Like it's been from like 8 to 5 and then beyond, like do always doing things. And I'm like, you
Oh,
cannot just stop it. Stop it.
yeah,
Stop it. I mean, it's all good things, at least for the most part, but still,
right.
still.
Yeah, I the struggle of, and everything I'm doing is what I want. So
Yeah.
everything that I'm doing is great. But I think I talked about it on the podcast before, but I'm working on a space history book
Hmm.
and um it it is a labor of love because when I'm
Hmm.
doing it, I'm like, yeah, I love this. I love because the entire time I'm just like learning things myself. I'm
Mhm.
reading, I'm researching. I've done a couple research trips to the other coast of Florida where I'm at, and to Alabama, and all this stuff. And I love it. But at the end of the day, like, I'm still not done. And sometimes it's really hard to keep that like momentum going
Yeah.
of this is a long-term project. This is the
Yeah.
longest term project I've ever had.
Mhm.
And it can be really discouraging when it feels like you're working and working and working, but you're still not at the end and there's still more work to do.
Yeah.
And in order to like reap the rewards, like you have to finish it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the only other um, kind of like longer term projects that I've done has been for Star Wars Insider.
Mhm.
And those were also a bit of it was a challenge for me at first because of the nature of writing for a magazine.
Mhm.
I think a lot of magazines operate months in advance. They have their like kind of content plans
Mhm.
roughly scheduled out, and they're like, okay, we need you to do something now for an issue that won't come out for 5 months.
Yeah.
So um, it can be a test of patience, but also very rewarding in the end.
For sure. Like I'm working on a novel right now and on top of all the other things. And whenever I'm like in it, totally in the story working on, it, I'm like, yes, this is my thing. And
Hmm.
then I have to stop and be like, you enjoy doing this, but you have so many other things to do. And there are days where I'm like, I don't know if I have time to work on it, but I'm like, if I don't do it anyway, it's never going to get done.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to like keep up that like just a little bit at a time. Like, um, you can't write a book in a month.
No.
That's
I
not
guess
really
some
how it works.
people can, but
Yes.
kudos to them. But
I could if it was all I ever had to do.
yeah,
Like if writing a book was my only job, I could write a first draft fast enough. Um, but certainly that is not the case. It may never be. Who knows?
yeah. And I'm like you too, where I have a book that I need to be working on, but then I'm like, but I do want to write a novel, and I want,
Yeah.
and maybe I should start thinking of, some ideas, and I'm like, no, just finish what you have,
Hmm.
what you have in front of you. And yeah, truly kudos to all of the published authors out there. Literally
Yeah.
anybody out there. I don't care if you're a New York Times bestseller or you are a like debut indie author, like you did it,
Yeah.
and that should be commended. Because I don't I don't think a lot of people truly understand what goes into like the craft of writing and writing something well. And here I am going full circle of us talking about AI, and now to the the skill and the patience and the motivation it takes to write something. And it's not a dying art by any means,
Yeah.
but it can be very discouraging when it feels like the rest of the world doesn't value
Yeah.
the work that you do and the things that you're good at and that you're passionate about, and the things that take hours and months and years of hard work and dedication. And then somebody's like, well, why would I do that when I can just have ChatGPT write me something? And I'm like, oh, just
Oh.
like a little part of me dies
Ugh.
inside.
Yeah. It's I mean, like, starting a book is hard, finishing a book is honestly nearly impossible.
Hmm.
And, it seems like a lot of people have done it, but certainly not everyone has done it because a lot of people don't even try because it's hard. It's so hard. And like
Hmm.
that's something that I really struggle with this, with all the conversations about AI is like writing a book is hard because it's not supposed to be easy.
Yeah, if it was easy, everybody would do it.
Yeah.
And even when it's like, oh, it seems like anybody can write a book, and I'm like, well, not really.
Yeah.
You're, if you just have a random person, they're like, I wrote a book, and it's like, but no, you didn't. You just had ChatGPT do it for you, and then you like cleaned it up a little, I guess.
Yeah.
And but I'm like, ChatGPT took that stuff from other authors. You didn't write the book, other authors did.
Yeah.
I could go on and on. I could just rant for days.
I know. Same. It's just I'm lucky to be in a lot of circles of people who agree that like it's AI writing is not writing. And I really
Right.
appreciate that because
Yeah.
it would be so easy if you were in a crowd of people who thought differently to start to wonder, like, well, should I be using this? Like, is it really that wrong to do? And like the answer is for so many reasons, yes, it is. Don't do it.
Like that old adage, well, if everybody else is jumping off the cliff, do you
Yeah.
do it too? I'm
Yeah.
like, no, I don't want to jump off the cliff.
I don't want to jump off the cliff. I want to write a book.
Yeah, that's not stolen.
Yeah, well, because like for me, part of writing is the satisfaction of having done it.
Hmm.
And you don't get like you get a rush of dopamine, I'm sure, when AI spits out something for you that you can then be like, I did this. I'm sure that's somewhat satisfying in some way to kind of feel like maybe you did something.
Yeah.
But for me, nothing compares to finishing a project or publishing something and knowing that like I put in all that work. I did that. That came from me. That those were my ideas.
Hmm.
Nothing will ever compare to that for me. And it's people are gonna do what they're gonna do, I guess, but
Yeah. But we will be out here holding the line.
yes.
I will hold the line.
Yes. You and me and others, we can do it.
Yes, we can.
So I think we should talk a little bit about writing about Star Wars.
Yeah.
And writing for Star Wars in some capacity because we've both written for Insider.
Hmm.
Um, because I had a very interesting conversation recently with Adam Lance Garcia because his one of
Yes.
his
I saw that.
short story came out in the last Insider issue as we were recording this, and it was really, really good. And he and I really ended up talking for a long time about um kind of along the same lines of what you and I have been talking about of like how long of a runway it can be to want to write something, or in his case, wanting to write something that was Star Wars, and
Hmm.
then actually getting to do it. And it took him decades to get there. Um, and like that's one of the reasons he's so grateful for having been able to write a few things so far because like that's what he's wanted to do forever. And he got there eventually. And I think that's a really, really hard thing to do and something not a
Hmm.
lot of people think about because, we spend a lot of time, you and I, around like Star Wars book fans and Star Wars fans in general. And a lot of people will very easily say, like, I would love to write something for Star Wars, because that would be cool. That's undeniable. Um,
Yeah.
but like not everyone kind of knows like well, first of all, there are a lot of different paths to getting there. Like like if you talk to like five different authors, you'll get like five different stories. They're like, oh, I was posting stuff on Twitter back when that was a thing, or I met someone here, or I did this thing. Like everyone has kind of their own way of getting into it. There's no like straight path, which I think is really interesting. And I'm sure it's the same with other IP as well, where like your means of like getting in, so to speak, really depend on like what you want to do and how you can like figure out how to get there. And it's also kind of like who you know. Um, so I figured we could talk a little bit about that. And I think probably a fun way to start that um would be kind of telling like our own like stories of like how we kind of started writing about Star Wars and how we got to where we
Mhm.
are. And I think you talked about that the first time we were here, but that was a while ago. So you can like kind of um reintroduce us to like how like you went from because you started in journalism and you're still in it, but kind of how you started there and then Star Wars kind of became something that you were writing about and now you kind of write for them in a way, which is cool.
Yeah, it's, it has been a while since I've kind of like talked about my career path, but it's crazy to think that this is, you know, 5 years
Yeah.
in the making and kind of 5 years or like the last 5 years of like my career. I I've been a professional journalist for over a decade.
Mhm.
Started in local news, worked for a local newspaper. I went to school for journalism, so um, I, I guess I would be considered an entertainment journalist. That was my primary job for about 4 or 5 years. I was a movie critic, unofficial, self-trained, trial by fire movie critic, movie and TV, mainly TV, some movies. But that really, if we really want to get specific, my journey to Star Wars writing specifically started with Game of Thrones
Mm.
because I was working at a local newspaper at the time and I was technically like an editorial assistant, so in one of the bureau offices. And so, I was working my way up. I'm like, I want to be a full-time reporter. So like literally started at the bottom, moved up to full-time, did all this stuff. And any chance I got, I was like, let me write. Let me write something. I don't care how small, hyper local it is. Let me write something. And our features department at the time was very large. It is no longer large, but they were looking for people to do episode recaps of TV shows because at the time, Game of Thrones was still airing and was probably like the most popular TV show on the air at the time. Everybody was talking about it. So they were like, do you want to do episode recaps? And I was like, yes, let me do it. Mind you, have never done an episode recap before. Um, so I'm like, yeah, let me do it. And then that turned into being the basically unofficial TV critic. I was, you know, getting screeners for TV shows. I think one of my brag moments now is that I got to review Stranger Things when it came the first season when it came out.
Oh.
I had to sign an NDA. This was my first NDA that I had to sign, and I was like so nervous about it because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like a big deal. Like Netflix sent me screeners of Stranger Things, and like now it's so crazy to think about how much of a phenomenon it's like blown up into.
Yeah.
Um, so I did that. I absolutely loved it. I was like all in on kind of like entertainment industry and things like that, and like watching the Emmys and watching all the award shows. And I'm like, this is so fun. Um, when I left the local newspaper, I worked at a local TV station. I wasn't an entertainment journalist anymore, but I did get to cover the theme parks occasionally and was so happy to be able to cover the opening of Galaxy's Edge at Disney World. So that kind of um, not reignited my love for Star Wars because I I've loved Star Wars for a long, long time. Um, it was really with the Force Awakens and getting to that was kind of like my first time writing about Star Wars. I was still at the newspaper at the time, and a new Star Wars movie is always an event. It's a global event, right? So even the newspaper was like, we want to have like coverage. So I went to Force Friday, the Friday or whatever, the few weeks before the movie comes out and all the new merch comes out. So wrote about that and I did that. And um, I I think it was like around that time, and I think I've told this story before about how I bought Lost Stars even though I didn't want to.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then now it's funny to think about because it's like one of my favorite Star Wars books of all time. And once I got like had a commute, like that's when I started reading Star Wars books because the Star Wars audiobooks were like, okay, these are amazing. I
Yeah.
love these are so fun. They're like engaging. So it was like around kind of that time where I'm like, okay, like I'm working, I have a commute either way, both at the newspaper and, at the TV station. So I can get in maybe like 30, 40 minutes of listening to an audiobook, and I'd rather do that. Um, so that continued. And when I left the TV station at the end of 2020, after being very burnt out by being the COVID pandemic reporter, um, I it was like I don't know, a couple weeks into December, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to be a freelancer now. I want to write what I want to write. I want to blog. I want to look at, where can I write about TV and movies and all that fun stuff that I haven't been able to really write about in a while. And I saw that Disney and Star Wars, were going to be publishing a new era of Star Wars books called The High Republic. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And so I reached out to um, a contact I had with, I think it was Disney or Disney Books or something. Because by this time, I had built up a pretty decent source list, a contact list of people that I could reach out to if I have a question or if I wanted to cover something. So, um, and they sent me Light of the Jedi and they sent me Into the Dark. So I got in contact with, somebody at Disney Books, and then that established my contact with Penguin Random House. And I read Light of the Jedi and Into the Dark, and I was like, these are fantastic books. I love this. And um, I was writing for Dork Side of the Force for a time. I think you and I were there around the same time
Yeah.
too. Yeah, it was kind of it was like back and forth. And it was really with Dork Side of the Force that I became like the book reviewer for
Yeah.
them, and that was like super fun. Just reviewing the books, and kind of writing news stories and content about the books and the High Republic and things like that. And that kind of it was such a great place to really like hone my voice when it comes to
Yeah.
writing about books and Star Wars. Um, and that also, put me on lists um, for getting review copies. And, I established myself as someone who was like reliable and who was going to constantly be reviewing the newest Star Wars books and writing content about them and sharing like news about like the Essential Legends collection, and things like that. So I don't remember when I left Dark Side of the Force. It's been a few years now,
Mhm.
but I I got some other work, including teaching at a university, and I created my own Substack newsletter, Space Wizards Book Club, and that I think just turned 3 years old in June. I was
Oh
like,
my
what?
God.
3 years? It's
No way.
crazy. But that has been like so fun for me. There's times I have to remind myself that like you can literally write what you want. Like this is
Yeah.
yours.
Yeah.
It's it's easy to forget because I have been writing for somebody else for so long. I've
Right.
always been writing under the style guide and the what's newsworthy and what's not. Like someone else is already kind of making those decisions, and now I'm like, no, I can literally write what I want. So it's very freeing. Um, and I I think I like at one point I just like did I shoot my shot? I know I've shot my shot many times many times now, but I actually heard a couple years ago I got a message from an editor at Penguin Random House, and he said that he really enjoyed my newsletter and how I was doing a really good job. And I'm like, what? Really? Thank you. You're reading my newsletter. That's so awesome. Um, and like we talked over Zoom uh, because I had just some questions. And I was like, listen, I want to do this. Uh, you know, what does that look like? Can he was like so open to like any question I had about the process of writing Star Wars books, whether that is like kind of nonfiction, like your reference books, your art books, things like that, and your novels. And I'm like, how do I do this? I want to do this. What does that look like? And kind of like you said, Meg, about everybody's journey is different. And he was very encouraging of like, you're on the right track.
Mm.
Like you are doing exactly like what a lot of other authors have done is like they had their own like Star Wars blogs. They they did it because they were so passionate about Star Wars.
Mm.
And amidst all of the AI conversations that we have and like all this stuff and like the social media and content and things like that, it is really it's so heartwarming and encouraging to talk to somebody who is in a position of authority within a franchise, a fandom that you love so much, telling you that your passion matters, your motivation matters, and your like ability to continue to talk about something that you love despite not getting paid for it,
Yeah.
literally just doing it out of a sense of this is what I want to do and I'm just gonna whatever, fake it till you make it type of thing.
Yeah.
um that has been so encouraging. And I it was because of him that he connected me with the editor at Star Wars Insider,
Mhm.
and that was like, hey, name drop the editor, just talk to so and so, and gave me your contact, and I would love to write for Star Wars Insider. Love to hear about kind of the process, or what kind of pitches you guys take, and um, things like that. And then yeah, I think that was in I think I had my first Star Wars Insider story in, oh my gosh, like 2022, I think. I can't believe it's been that long.
Yeah.
um 2022 or 2023, I can't remember now, but and yeah, like I actually don't remember how many articles I've had now, and it's so fun
Yeah.
being able to do that and going to the bookstore and seeing a magazine with your name in it,
Yep.
and going to my local comic book, this is my favorite, is my local comic book store. They all know me now. And so every time I go and I go pick up my issue of Star Wars Insider, they're like, "Do you have anything in there?" And I was like, "Yeah,
Oh,
look." And
I
then
love that.
the owner, he's so nice, and he was like, "Oh, I read that. You did such a good job." And I'm like, "Oh, thanks." I'm like, "This is the why, this is whatever.
Yes.
This is my why." It's so cheesy, but uh like being able to share that and like having people match your excitement, match your
Yeah,
energy for those things is, you know, it's truly amazing.
it really, really is. I did not realize how similar our paths actually are.
Right?
Um, a fun fact about Dorkside, I don't know if you knew this, but I was writing their book reviews for a while, and then I
Before
left,
me?
and then you took over writing the book reviews, so you're welcome.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you for leaving when you did because it was truly perfect timing for me to come in.
My journey with that site really is like I left and came back far too many times, and now I've left for the last time. So
Yes.
there's that. Um, but yeah, like the very short version of my story, because one, I've told it before, and two, it's very similar to yours, is I started out in journalism and I was writing like health science stuff. Like that was my thing. I'd never written outside of that. I didn't have any experience doing anything entertainment related. And then the company that I was writing for, their website, one day they literally were just like, we're just doing all entertainment now. Like that's the only thing that's going to get us traffic. And so I sat there and I was like, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do it, but I would like to keep this job, so I'm going to figure it out. And you really got to learn by doing in that situation. But in doing that, I kind of wanted to like learn on the side, like practice, like how to do that. So I started looking for like freelancing stuff, and that's how um I found a few things that were just entertainment at large. And then I found fan-sided and got into the Star Wars specific stuff. And realized I really liked doing that because I really liked Star Wars. And I was like, wait, I can write about a thing that I like.
Hmm.
And that was really cool. And that was like me, like also at the same time training myself to write this completely new type of content that I didn't know how to do, which allowed me to keep full-time jobs for a while until um, the industry imploded, but it's fine. Um, and then I kept doing that. Um, and then I started a podcast. And I wanted a podcast about books specifically in Star Wars because that was like my favorite thing. And I liked that. And it was through that that I also connected with a certain editor who is Tom, who's been on the show before. He knows who he is.
Oh, good. Yeah.
We all
Hi,
love
Tom.
Tom. We love Tom. We love you.
Just want to like name drop him all the time. He's probably like, "Oh my gosh, everybody's always talking about me."
It's because he is one of those people who really enjoys what he does and just makes it easy for everyone else to enjoy it too. Um,
Yes.
so through like doing book stuff, I connected with him and we would talk back and forth sometimes about like just random book things. I'd ask him like stupid questions like, what's the longest Star Wars book? Because like, I love to know these things. I don't remember the answer. Um,
Is it Lesser Evil?
I was just talking about this with
I
someone.
feel
It's
like it's probably not. Like Lesser Evil looks long. No,
it's
wait.
either that or Shadow of the Sith. I can't remember. They're both really long.
Oh, isn't it Rain of the Mask of Fear is really long too.
Oh, I don't know. I might have
No,
known
but
at
I
one point.
I totally get that. I think I asked him like a random question of like, which is harder, the novelization, writing a novelization of like a movie, or just like a brand new original Star Wars book?
I love
And
that
his,
question.
yeah, that was such a good answer too. Anyway, continue. I'm sorry.
No, you're
Got
good.
sidetracked.
No, it's like it's so fun to ask him just random questions because like he just always has answers. And I'm like, how do you keep all of that in your head? I don't
Yeah.
understand it. I don't understand it. He's a machine, and I say that lovingly. Um, so he and I became like acquainted and like uh he would like share my stuff sometimes and I'm like that I don't know why you're doing that. I'm nobody. Um, but then he and I ended up having a similar conversation to you, which is I asked him at one point, And I was like so nervous about sending this DM. And I was like, if I wanted to write a Star Wars book in like 5 years, like what do I have to do? And I was literally just like, lay out the steps. I just want to know. And he gave me this whole like long, like, obviously everyone has their own like way of getting there, but here are some things you can do that'll get you closer. And like that was probably like 2020 or 2021, maybe that I asked him this. And I kind of like filed that way and I was like, okay, I'll keep that in mind. And um it was probably like a couple years later where I don't know if I'd reached out to him or he reached out to me first. The conversation ended up being like, I would like to write for Insider, maybe. How do I do that? And he's like, here's the contact info. And I also name dropped him when I emailed the editor. I was like,
Yeah.
hey, guess who sent me here? And I was like, that's the only way I'm gonna get in because my story with Insider is I didn't do that at first. I kind of just um emailed him randomly and I was like, I think I'd mentioned Tom like in the email itself. But I sent like I remember I was sitting in Panera. I think we were having breakfast or we were working or something. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna pitch to Insider and I'm always gonna remember that I was sitting in a Panera when I did it. And he never wrote me back.
Oh,
And so for like 6 months, I was like, oh, should I like do it? And then so eventually I wrote him back and I tried again and then he answered that time. So it's like
that's
sometimes
great.
sometimes you just gotta like be persistent. I waited a little too long between those two, and that's okay. It all worked out. Um, but I think it really is like it's not for like Star Wars stuff. It is partially like who you know, but it's also like kind of just like getting to know people for the sake of your shared love for Star Wars because that's how you
Yeah.
connect with people. It's like, you can be like and you should be in a way like vocal about the ambitions that you have. Like, you can say, I want to write a Star Wars book. No one's going to judge you for that. A lot of people do, and a lot of people won't say that they want to. And there is something to be said about like being forward about what you want. Um, but there also is like that element of like, you don't want to just like only, you know, quote unquote network for the sake of like getting to where you want to be. Like when I talk to authors, there's a mutual benefit to that, but also I just love hearing what they have to say about Star Wars because
Hmm.
chances are very high that they love Star Wars as much as I do. That's why they're writing a Star Wars book. And that is a connection that I love having just for the sake of we love the same thing. I think that's really cool. And I think like it's so important to remember that like as you go along whatever your journey is of wanting to write a Star Wars book and taking whatever path works for you to get there because there's so many different things you can do. Um, it just has to be something that you're passionate about because you're going to be doing a lot of work for free for a very long time. Um,
Yes.
but like it's it's so many things. It's doing good work, consistent work, being passionate, getting to know people who know people who know people. Um, and also just like writing a lot. Like I write a lot outside of Star Wars just because like you have to get your name out there somehow. And people talk about how like blogs are dead and whatever, but like when you type my name into Google, my blog is still the first thing that comes up. There's nothing I can do about it. And I will never escape it. But that's what happens.
Hmm.
Um, it matters.
And it's like I wholeheartedly agree with the passion element that's like needed
Mhm.
because I mean granted why would you want to write a Star Wars book or a Marvel comic or
Yeah.
whatever and not be a fan, like it doesn't make
Right.
sense.
Right. Right. Right.
um like you'd be hard pressed to find an author who was like meh on Star Wars, who wrote Star Wars. Like it just like I just don't think that exists. um Even going back to Legends EU,
Mhm.
I'm very confident that all of them love Star Wars,
Yeah.
in order to be able to tell a story. And um, just, and I feel like I want to give like a little credit to, like our social media content
Mhm.
that we've done over the years. And I think you've been doing it longer. You've been doing it longer than I have, on Instagram. And but I think that kind of kept us in, the actual like fan communities. And I think
Yeah.
that helps kind of keep we are fans, but
Right.
once you do start, you know, pitching for Insider or writing, even writing just for, blogs like Dork Side of the Force or whatever, or having your own blog, or newsletter writing about Star Wars stuff is like, at the end of the day, like, this is entertainment, and like the consumer, the customer of the entertainment is the fan. So like you
Yeah.
want to keep in mind like what the fans are are talking about,
Right.
and what they like want to know. And like I've as someone who, has been a journalist, and has worked in the digital journalism space where I have to keep track of kind of social media content and analytics and things like that. I love that I can do that with my own blog,
Yeah.
and with my Substack, and just kind of looking at the trajectory of not just like subscribers but like views, and like, oh, like this post over here got picked up by Google. Why did it get picked up by Google? Oh, it's because I framed a headline a certain way,
Yeah.
or whatever. And like you do, and like for some people, playing to the algorithms can be soul sucking. I totally get it. Like
Hmm.
there are periods where I am like, I don't care about feeding the algorithm. Like, I
Yeah.
don't care. I just want to post what I want to post. And it can be really discouraging when you just want to post what you always post,
Yeah.
and what feels good for you, and like you get nothing, and you're like, am I just sending it out to the void? But I promise you that like there's not really a void.
Yeah.
Um especially when it comes to stuff like Star Wars content. Like we find each other. I mean,
Yeah.
that's quite literally why you and I are talking right now.
Right.
It's
Right.
because we found each other in spite of, the algorithms and
Yeah.
things like that. And that I feel like creating content around Star Wars books, it is very niche, but it you know, it has also helped in my writing about Star Wars, because it causes me to kind of constantly be thinking about Star Wars
Yeah.
books, and like what's kind of in the conversation, and then kind of like using my more, historian journalist, eye, and like, okay, like what else can I say about this story, or about this announcement, or whatever.
Right. I mean, like it would be easy to like take news that like Revan is gonna be in the Lego Star Wars whatever, and like immediately be like, here are all the books that Revan is in. Like that it's like you're pulled to that, and like I fight that so often because I'm
Hmm.
like, so many people have already done that, and that doesn't mean that I can't also do that. But maybe I don't always have to do that. And like there's that balance of like sometimes like over the past like year or so I had like moments where I wondered like, is Star Wars books too niche? Am I limiting myself? Do I need to like expand into more Star Wars things or just more things in general? Like, is it just too narrow? Am I like missing out on opportunities because of this? And like the reality is like this is what I'm going to enjoy the most. Like it's
Yeah.
hard work. It's a lot of work. Most of it I don't get paid for still. And if that like if the passion for it is not there, if it's not the thing that I want to be spending all this time researching and writing about and reading and everything involved, um, then it's not going to be worth it. And I'm like, okay, I'll just stick with Star Wars books. And like um it's gotten me farther than I expected, and
Hmm.
that's a nice feeling.
Yeah. It's like it continues to surprise me, my own career.
Yeah.
Because, when I was starting out in journalism, even when I left journalism, writing for Star Wars was not, you know, in my mind of like a thing that I could do. If someone would, if someone had told me like, hey, here's the trajectory that you could do, like, would you like to do that? I'd probably be like, oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But I didn't, I didn't even set out to do what I'm doing now when I started 5 years ago with,
Yeah.
requesting Light of the Jedi. Like I got really excited once I started writing book reviews, and then I kind of entered the bookstagram book talk world
Yeah.
and found such a fun home there, fun communities there, because I've always been a reader. So regardless of Star Wars and Star Wars books, like I've always been a heavy reader. And rediscovering my love of reading after being burnt out in local news journalism was just so fun. And like just looking back, I'm like, I can't believe I've come this far, with the idea that I can't believe, like, I can't wait to see where else I go, because truly this, like, there is no limit.
Yeah.
Like in 5 years, I'm doing what I'm doing, and I'm like, what's gonna happen in the next 5 years? Like,
Yeah.
let's do it. Let's see what happens next.
Exactly. Yeah, like writing about Star Wars for Star Wars was not like one of the options that we talked about in like my like English major like senior seminar, like here are all your career opportunities. Like everyone was going into publishing or teaching English or whatever else they were doing, and I was over here like I double majored. I want to write this very specific science-based stuff. And that's what I'm gonna do forever. And then like I think I think that lasted like 3.5 years, and then the internet
Yeah.
became the internet. And then I was like, I can pivot, I can do something else. And like the fact that I went from that to this is like, I guess I did eventually find my thing. And it's not my thing in the
Hmm.
sense that like I'm the only one that's doing it, but like I think about, what is the thing that when I woke up in the morning and had to go to work that I would be most excited to do, because work is always going to be work, but relatively speaking. And I'm like, it's anything related to Star Wars books because I have
Yeah.
read so many of them and talked to so many people about them. And it just brings me joy. And we like that.
And yeah, I and it brings others joy too.
Yeah.
Like it is rare to find something that is that rewarding,
Yeah.
while also having people who enjoy your work. Like it is so I hope it never gets old.
Yeah.
Um it still blows my mind that like I keep getting like new subscribers to my newsletter, and I'm
Yeah.
like, you guys like my stuff? Like I'm just like a person, on the internet, and it's I don't know, it's so surreal to think about sometimes, and just knowing that like every every opportunity that we get, you know, almost like begets a new opportunity,
Yeah.
another opportunity. Um, and especially with, talking to so many authors, and really like being able to relate to them and just talking to them, and they're so down to earth and humble, and even like some of your favorite Star Wars authors that like, oh my gosh, like would love to like meet them and like have them sign my books. Like they're just people
Yeah.
that love this thing, and they still get excited
Yeah.
that they get to write a Star Wars book. Every time, it doesn't matter. Like I've talked to, at this point, I think all the High Republic authors, and every single one of them is like, I can't believe I get to do this. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you've been doing this for a while. You have like 4 books,
Yeah.
you know. Um, I also feel like lucky to have, like people like you, and then like I talk to Chris Kempshall a lot.
Mm.
He's historian, and so like we have that kind of connection, like academic world. And uh I talked to him, recently because I'm gonna pitch to an academic like collection
Mm.
about Star Wars and like politics and stuff, but that's like a whole other thing. But like he still is just like, I can't believe I get to do this. Like I got
Yeah.
to write this book. Like it's it's still, I think for a lot of the authors, it's still fun for them. It's still like a dream come true every
Yeah.
time, no matter how many stories they write for Star Wars or whatever. And it reminds me, you mentioned Adam Lance Garcia, and I'm like, we need to chat sometime because he is so active on social media,
Yeah.
and he hypes people up. Uh,
Yes.
every time I have like a Star Wars Insider article, he's like commenting, like, can't wait to read it. And I need to go pick up my article so I can read his story, because he was so excited about his short story. Um, and I thought I was going to have an article in this issue, but it ended up being an earlier issue. And I was like,
Mm.
oh, dang. Like, I told him, like, oh, we're going to share an issue. Um, and that's a that's a fun community to be a part of, is
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
Star Wars Insider writer community, because we're all like, you know, sharing, oh, I'm going to have an article in this issue. It's like, oh, me too.
Yeah. It's fun. It's fun.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, this is really fun. And like, I hope that you and I, like we've written for Insider, but I hope that at some point, you and I also get to share the excitement of like getting to be, authors in a slightly different Star Wars capacity. And
Hmm.
that'll be fun to talk about at some point, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so too. We'll have a special episode.
Oh yeah.
Uh, and maybe in the future we can have like a panel at like Celebration or a con or something,
Oh,
and
that would be fun.
have like a live podcast
Oh, that would be
recording.
fun.
Yeah, to talk about writings for Star Wars, and how we started and how it's going.
I love that. Also, you and I just need to meet in person because we've talked
Yeah,
enough and known
yeah.
each other long enough. And I'm like, oh, come on.
I need to make my way to New York again. So someday,
Yeah, we will figure it out, I'm sure.
or you can come to
Um,
Disney World. We can meet at Disney World.
oh, I mean, like eventually we want to. Uh, We'll see.
It's a whole thing. I get it. It's a whole thing for me to go to
Yeah,
Disney World, even, and it's like 2 hours away. So
yeah, yeah. We shall see. You
yeah,
and I have some things to talk about off the record.
yeah,
But
redacted.
redacted. But before we do that, you talked about so many of the things that you're doing and currently doing and all the places you hang out. So why don't you plug all those things so people can find you, and then you and I can talk about more interesting stuff that's just
Yeah.
between us.
Um. Yeah. So I am at Space Wizards Book Club on Instagram, and I think TikTok too. I think that's my handle still. Um. And of course, my Substack, Space Wizards Book Club, it's a newsletter. I need to get back to like being more regular with sending out newsletters, but if you go to it now, you'll probably see a post where I talked about, I was a little vulnerable, and I was like, hey, listen, I've been struggling, but more coming soon. Yes. So you can find me at all those places, and eventually I will be a official, published author once I finish this space history book. But I am under contract, so like that's worthy of celebration.
Yay.
So they will get a book from me hopefully soon. I don't even want to like give a rough estimate because I don't want to like jinx myself, but it is in progress. I'm a huge space nerd, so if anybody listening also loves space and like rockets, like real life space, yeah, hit me up because I love it.
Yeah, not the fictional space stuff this time. It's the real
Yes,
deal.
I love both. I love
Yeah.
fictional space, but I also love real life space. I don't want to go there.
I don't want to go
I don't want to go there. I do love rockets though. I love the history. I love looking at space. Yeah.
I legitimately can't wait to read your book eventually because I just love learning new things about things that I have not learned a lot about, and it helps that you will have written it, so that'll be fun.
Yay. Well, you'll be among the first to know when it's done.
Yeah,
The internet
yes.
will be among the first to know.
Yes.
Rather than my editor. It'll be like,
Tell me
I'm done.
exactly the moment you finish, so whatever I'm doing, I can celebrate.
Yes.
So maybe the next time you're on, we will have even more to talk about.
Yeah, hopefully. Like, cross your fingers.
But until then, this has been really fun. I always love talking to you. I wish we could do it more often, but again, we are very busy with very many things. And on that note, we will stop recording.
Perfect.
Now This Is Lit is part of the Faraway Fandom Network. It is produced by Devor Montum and written, hosted, and edited by me. Jose Jimenez designed our podcast art. You can keep up with the show on Substack at Now This Is Lit, and find the show wherever you get your podcasts. There are so many ways you can support the show, and all of those ways are linked in the show description. The newest way is to become a member of our Patreon. For $1 a month, you can get access to an exclusive show and a sticker. And if we get 500 people to support the Patreon per month, I can hire an editor. That would be great for me, and maybe for you too. So if you'd like to support the show with just $1 a month, you can do it that way. Or you can just keep listening and sharing the episodes. That is also helpful, and I appreciate it. For more book reviews and Star Wars Book Celebration, follow Star Wars Book Reviews on Instagram and TikTok.